Archaeologists are in a race against time to explore the wreck of an English warship that sank in a huge storm more than 300 years ago. The archaeologists say that unless they manage to reach the wreck soon, it could be buried beneath sand, leaving them no choice but to wait another 300 years for a chance to study it. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this breaking news. I'm your host. Let's dive right into today's story. Northumberland was a 70-gun warship built in Bristol, England in 1679. It was the fourth of 10 warships constructed under the direction of Samuel Pepys, now best known for his diaries, while he served as treasurer of the Navy. Pepys oversaw a dramatic transformation of the English Navy in the 1670s and 1680s from a corrupt institution riddled with waste and mismanagement to a modern fighting force that was the envy of Europe. In May 1702, following years of conflict with France, Spain, and their allies, Northumberland, along with 3 other warships, set sail from Spithead near Portsmouth on a mission to escort a convoy of merchant ships to the Mediterranean. The 4 vessels, which included Restoration, Stirling Castle, and Mary, were caught in the devastating Great Storm of November 26, 1703. Historical accounts suggest that the ships were sailing too close to the Goodwin Sands, a notorious area of sandbanks and shallow water off the coast of Kent, southeast England, when a violent gust of wind hit the fleet, causing Northumberland to strike a sandbank and run aground. Despite efforts to dislodge the ship, it broke apart and sank. Only one of the 4 ships, Mary, managed to escape the clutches of the sand. Today, experts say that around 150 crew members perished on Northumberland, although only 57 bodies were recovered. The remains of the ship were discovered in 1979 when a fisherman's net became snagged. At the time, the site was thought to consist of a jumble of timbers protruding from the seabed. According to Historic England, the wreck, which covers a large area of the seabed at a depth of 50 to 65 feet or 15 to 20 meters, is very well preserved. Northumberland has always been partially covered by sand and sediment since it was first discovered, but last summer, around 2/3 of the ship was exposed and maritime archaeologists were able to conduct a deep-sea exploration. In a press release, Historic England described the wreck as an extraordinary survival of a warship from the late 17th century, a period often referred to as the Golden Age of sailing, when wooden ships with masts and sails were the dominant naval force worldwide, and Britain began to establish its dominance at sea. The detailed survey revealed, among other things, an extensive hull structure, multiple iron cannons, swords, muskets, copper cauldrons, and some sealed chests whose contents remain unknown. Now Historic England says it is a race against time to record the details of Northumberland before the shifting sands bury it again. Hefin Mira, a maritime archaeologist with Historic England who commissioned the survey, told CNNY the wreck's location has played such big part in both its discovery and its current jeopardy. Goodwin Sands, where this wreck is located, is really dynamic, he said. You've got these enormous sand dunes that sort of migrate around the area. So a wreck will be completely exposed for some time, and then the sand comes over it, and will bury it in 5-6 more meters worth of sand, so it will completely disappear for a decade or more. This is what is thought to have happened between when the ship, which Mira said would have originally been about 150 feet or 46 meters long, was first located in 1979 and more recently. It's a major warship, he said. We've got an area exposed somewhere in the region of about 98 feet or 30 meters long, so it's not the whole wreck exposed just yet. We're looking at a wreck that is going to be spread over quite a large area because it has gone through this period of exposure and reburial several times in the last 300 years, so it is going to be dispersed to a certain extent. According to Mira, it's impossible to say exactly how much of the ship is still resting on the seabed. That's something the archaeological team hope to find out in the coming months. The team is planning more geophysical surveys as it tries to figure out how to make the most of this window before the Northumberland or it begins to degrade. Mira said that while many parts of the wreck are in great condition, others have been ravaged by shipworms and the elements. They are all sorts of threats to the wreck, he said, referring to the worms and other creatures that bore into wood. When you get these wrecks that are exposed to air, they are very vulnerable to degradation. They start to break up, they start to lose their shape and integrity. And then once they start to do that, they become even more vulnerable. It becomes this sort of feedback loop of degradation. Mira added that it's too early to say if any conservation work will be carried out on the wreck. The survey work follows a call last year from Historic England for more protection of England's underwater cultural heritage, according to the agency. Only 15% of England's designated maritime protected areas offer adequate protection for underwater heritage. In the Historic England press release, Snow compared the wreck of the Northumberland to that of the Mary Rose, a warship commissioned under Henry VIII that famously sank in 1545, and HMS Victory, the world's oldest surviving commissioned warship. Northumberland is the missing link, Snow said. Built roughly halfway between the Mary Rose and HMS Victory, this wreck can fill in crucial details of shipbuilding and life at sea. At that pivotal moment in our history, we have the Mary Rose, the Tudor time capsule. Well, here's a Stuart time capsule to sit alongside it. The wreck is the subject of a new documentary made by Snow for his streaming service History Hit. Northumberland is thought to be the final resting place of John Bennelong, an African sailor who escaped slavery in Madeira and became one of the most celebrated figures of the Royal Navy, serving for more than 40 years. He was the first black British sailor to achieve the rank of master, the operational equivalent of a modern-day chief petty officer. Bennelong was born in Africa. According to the National Archives of the UK, he was enslaved in Madeira, an archipelago of islands off the northwest coast of Africa, before he was purchased by Captain Samuel Pepys. Pepys, who later became the treasurer of the Navy, took Bennelong with him on his travels and educated him, eventually employing him as his personal servant. By 1672, Bennelong had switched roles and was working on board ships as a sailor. He was on board Northumberland when it sank in 1703, but managed to survive and was rescued by the Mary. Bennelong continued to serve the Royal Navy until his death in 1711. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to subscribe for more stories like this one.